Why is Egypt co-sponsoring South Africa's case at the ICJ, waging lawfare against Israel, acting as advocate for the devil?
See, this takes us down the same route, for as far as I'm concerned, as the discussions about Qatar. When you and I talk like this, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? What's the purpose of our discussion? In my mind, at least if I speak for myself, I want to influence Americans to have a certain view of the Middle East so that they focus on the things that are going to be most effective in the quickest amount of time. Any discussion that we have about the Qataris, the Egyptians, the Turks, anyone else takes away from focus on the thing that is really going to make the biggest difference.
But we have to focus on multiple things. We cannot just focus on one power.
Strategy is about prioritization.
Prioritization, but also understanding how there are multiple overlapping pieces and tectonic plates that are shifting.
All over the Middle East, the knee bone is connected to the thigh bone and so on. But if you go down that route, you get lost. And we're starting, if we're trying to influence decision makers in the United States, we need to keep them focused on one thing and one thing only.
I care about containing the Iranian regime. It doesn't mean that I, as an Israeli, can turn a blind eye to the fact that a neighbor that is massively profiteering off the trade of humanitarian aid is accusing my country of genocide at the ICJ and poisoning global public opinion against us. I have to care about that too.
What is the single greatest thing that Israel did to get the hostages released? Other than military pressure, what put Hamas in a position? If you want to think about changing Hamas's calculations so that Hamas will release hostages, what was the thing that changed their calculation the most? It was the removal of Hezbollah from the Gaza front, or distancing it from the Gaza front. Nasrallah had said all along, we will not, as long as you are engaged in warfare as you, Israel, are engaged in warfare in Gaza, then your north will know no quiet, and your citizens, Israel, will not be able to go back to the border communities. It was the destruction of it was the degrading and destruction of Hezbollah to such a point that Hezbollah felt it had to drop out of, it had to renege on that promise, that left Hamas with the realization that it's alone on the battlefield. The way you got Hezbollah to make that calculation was by hitting Iran hard and leaving it naked. That's the connection where the knee bone is connected to the thigh bone that we need to focus on. If Israel takes out, or Israel and the United States together take out the Iranian nuclear program, the task of destroying Hezbollah completely and encouraging other actors in Lebanon to rub Hezbollah's face in the dust becomes that much easier. If that happens, then getting a better solution in Gaza becomes that much easier. As long as Israel has this Iranian network arrayed against it in one form or another, its room for maneuver in Gaza is restricted greatly. And that's not because of Egypt, and it's not because of Qatar. And anything we do to Egypt or Qatar is not going to change that essential equation.
I want to process that a second. Before October 7th, foreign observers could have claimed that an Israeli attack on the Iranian nuclear facilities would ignite the Middle East, cause an escalation, that it would be dangerous and escalatory. What you're saying now is that at this point of the October 7th war, an Israeli strike on Iran's nuclear facilities would be de-escalatory in as much as the removal of the Iranian regime's influence liberates other actors to crush the remnants of Hezbollah in Lebanon, leaves Hamas even more bereft of its main state sponsor, forcing it to accept an arrangement it would never otherwise have considered because it was alone. And therefore, this move that I think is likely, if not certain, this year, will be the pièce de résistance that pushes Hamas towards its eventual defeat. Do I understand your thinking correctly?
Yes, that's it. And just think about it. If Iran goes down, I'm not talking about the regime, but I'm saying if it is seen by the world to have its nuclear program, the jewel in the crown of its resistance network. If that is destroyed, Hezbollah will be seen to be weak. The Houthis will seem to be weak as well, and that will embolden other actors. Also, let's not forget the Iran-backed militias in Iran. Everyone
in
Iraq. Everyone in Iraq right now is afraid. All of the Iran-backed militias are afraid. They're afraid that the United States and Israel are going to start targeting them, and they're defenseless before this network. If we wait too long, and when Iran is able to buy time and start to rebuild and reconstitute its network, they will be emboldened. The Iran-backed militias in Iraq will be emboldened once again. Iran will perhaps have a new or a strengthened front in Iraq. The Houthis will not be subdued, and so on. This war is a war with Iran, and it is only half over, and we have to finish the war. And Qatar, Egypt, Turkey, they have nothing to do with it.
Where does Turkey fit into this then? Erdogan has been vocally supportive of Hamas. Erdogan's Turkey treats Hamas terrorists in its hospitals. Erdogan's Turkey has even threatened a conquest of Jerusalem. What's Turkey's interest here? Why does it back Hamas?
You know, American hospitals have treated Hezbollah, very significant Hezbollah fighters.
How so?
In Lebanon, the American University in Beirut has a hospital, and a number of very significant Hezbollah fighters have taken shelter there with the knowledge of the Biden administration. Nothing was done about it.
I've never heard of this before.
I know. Yeah, I'm revealing it now to your audience.
Why is that happening?
I'm not sure this is happening now. It happened under the.
Why did it happen?
Because the Biden administration was reaching out to Iran in an effort to try to de-escalate. That was their de-escalate and deconflict. That's their language. In order to get to a ceasefire in Gaza.
That's deeply disturbing, and yet Turkey's support for Hamas goes far beyond treating its fighters in their hospitals. It was only a few weeks after the October 7th massacre that Turkey's President Erdogan said, Hamas is not a terrorist organization, it is a liberation group. It is a mujahideen waging a battle to protect its lands and its people. There appears to have been coordination between Erdogan and the Iranian leadership, as well, repeatedly denying that Hamas are terrorists, publicly mourning Sinwar while comparing Netanyahu to Hitler. Reports that Hamas leaders are in Turkey. In fact, when Khalid Mashal called for a resumption of suicide bombings, he did that from Turkey, from the territory of a NATO member state. So why is Turkey backing Hamas?
So, again, just as I said about Qatar and Egypt, before going into all of the intricacies of the Turkish relationship with Hamas, where does this lead if we start talking about it this way? And what effect does it have on our regional strategy? One of the greatest things that happened to Israel in the since October 7th, one of the greatest successes, strategic successes that Israel had in its war against Iran, was the toppling of Bashar al-Assad. That delivered to Israel a great strategic prize, because no longer. Yeah.
No, because immediately it gave Israel an opportunity to bomb the whole Assad military, its stockpiles of WMDs, destroy its air force, destroy its navy, and what had been a major military threat on Israel's northern border was gone overnight.
All of the Iranians were expelled entirely from Syria, and Iran no longer had the conduit from Damascus to Beirut to build up Hezbollah.
Truly, we live in biblical times.
Yeah, yeah. So who handed Israel that strategic coup de grace?
Go on.
Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
Why?
Because the Turks are the ones who toppled the Turks in support of their proxy HTS are the ones that toppled Assad. So the expansion of Turkish power it worked greatly to the advantage of Israel. I would start before I'm going to start talking to you about all of the horrendous things that Erdogan has said about Hamas, or all of the ways in which the Turks have hosted Hamas and so forth. I want to talk about the overlapping strategic interests between the Turks and the Israelis. And if we start focusing, if we make the center of our policy toward Turkey their position on Hamas, what effect does that have on the benefits that we get from Turkey with respect to the
So
Iranian
what
network?
overlapping interests are there between Israel and Turkey that means we should turn a blind eye to it harboring the October 7th monsters?
Iran and Turkey are today in strategic competition and in greater tension than at any time since I have been watching the Middle East. And when I talk to Israelis and to many of my American colleagues in Washington, there's not even any awareness of this. There's a tremendous amount of hostility coming from Ankara, coming from Tehran now toward the Turks.
And is it obvious that Israel's interests are aligned with Turkey?
Israel's number one enemy and the West's number one enemy is Iran, and anything that weakens Iran or counterbalances it is a good thing.